A source telling CNN that Attorney General Pam Bondi has directed federal prosecutors to launch a grand jury investigation into accusations that Obama officials manufactured intelligence about Russia's 2016 election interference. A grand jury could issue subpoenas or even pursue a potential indictment as part of a criminal investigation into allegations that Democratic officials tried to smear Donald Trump during his 2016 campaign by falsely alleging his campaign was colluding with the Russian government. Now, this follows a recent move from Trump's Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. She declassified documents that she alleged undermine the Obama administration's conclusion that Russia tried to help Trump defeat Hillary Clinton. Let's bring in CNN senior legal analyst Elie Honig. Elie, what do prosecutors need to start or set up here? What's the process?
Yeah, Phil, so look, this is a big step forward because now we've moved from beyond the stage of reports and referrals and political statements into what appears to be an actual criminal investigation by the Justice Department. Now, traditionally, and I can't necessarily vouch or speak for this particular Justice Department because they've defied a lot of norms, but traditionally the burden to open a grand jury investigation is fairly low. It's not nothing. As a prosecutor, you have to have some basis to believe that a federal crime may have been committed. But Phil, now that there is a grand jury convened, that gives DOJ prosecutors enormous investigative powers. You already mentioned the two major things that grand juries can do. Number one is investigate. They can issue subpoenas. These are criminal subpoenas. They're essentially mandatory. You can challenge them, but they're typically upheld by courts. You can subpoena witnesses who will have to come in and give testimony in the grand jury. And then the second thing grand jurors can do, and we're down the line here, is ultimately vote to indict. That's how federal prosecutors obtain indictments. The burden is simply that you have to show probable cause that a crime was committed. It's a much lower burden than in order to show someone's guilt. So this is a major step forward in this investigation, and potentially quite a precipitous one as well.
What do you think the likelihood of an indictment of somebody that maybe is well known to the American public would be in a situation like this?
Gosh, I have read Tulsi Gabbard's summaries and reports really carefully. I've tried to make sense of this, and I am not comprehending where the criminal theory comes in at all, frankly. Tulsi Gabbard's theory, which this started with a referral from Tulsi Gabbard over to DOJ, is essentially that Barack Obama or some of his officials were involved in falsifying intelligence around the 2016 election. But when you look at what the actual facts are, that simply does not appear to be true. The intelligence estimate at the time was that Russia was attempting to interfere in the 2016 election in Trump's benefit, and that they did that through persuasion, through taking out Facebook ads and that kind of thing. But the intelligence also showed there was no criminal conspiracy between Donald Trump and the Russians, and that there was no actual hacking to switch over votes in the systems. That intelligence has since been confirmed by the Senate Intelligence Committee, Republican-led, by DOJ itself through their Inspector General. So I'm not quite sure where I see, A, a discrepancy there, never mind, B, Phil, a federal crime. I mean, we've heard terms like seditious conspiracy and treason. I'm not seeing anything close to that. And finally, Phil, I do have to note, all of this conduct would date back to 2016. Here we are 9 years later. The statute of limitations on most federal crimes is going to be 5 years. So I'm skeptical, but look, this is going to happen largely behind closed doors, and we'll see where it goes.
Elie Honig, always appreciate it, my friend. Thanks so much. With us now, our CNN senior political commentators Van Jones and Scott Jennings. Van, I want to start with you. Your reaction to the move here by the Attorney General to move forward with a grand jury investigation.
Stunning, terrifying, and a waste of time. Look, I was in the Obama administration. The administration ahead of us was George W. Bush's administration. There's a lot of stuff that they did that we didn't like or we would have done differently or we thought was awful. But we never tried to criminally prosecute anybody. And so this doesn't make a lot of sense. What is the crime here? Apparently, they don't like that Russia was trying to mess with our elections. But the Obama administration didn't say that they successfully did it, didn't say that Trump participated in it. They just said the truth, which a bipartisan Senate panel also said, which is the Russians tried to mess with our election. Now, Donald Trump has just not been able to let this go. He feels badly about it. But just because you feel badly about something or you don't like something the last administration did, doesn't mean somebody should go to prison. And if that happens, that's a completely different world that we're living in. But we can't even figure out what is a criminal charge supposed to be here.
Yeah, I would note, and it was a long time ago, and we're all getting older, except for Scott, of course. I believe the Obama administration and Attorney General Eric Holder took a lot of heat for not pursuing criminal cases against people involved in allegations of torture when they came in from the Bush administration. Scott, what's your take on what we've seen transpire in the last couple hours?
Well, I think we're downplaying what's been found. And, you know, with respect to my sparring partner here, Van, half the country and one entire political party has an article of faith that Russia stole the 2016 election. Now, how did they come to that conclusion? They came to that conclusion because high-ranking Democrats, many of whom had intelligence titles that were bestowed upon them in the Obama administration, spent a lot of time and effort making an entire political party believe that. If you went to a Democratic fundraising dinner or political dinner tonight and got asked the question, did Russia steal the election? And you said no, you'd be booed off the stage. And so I think you're downplaying what has actually happened here. One party and half the country believes an election was stolen, and that did not happen by accident. There's evidence here. A grand jury looking at it. If it's as clean and mundane as you say, then these people ought to have nothing to worry about. But why shouldn't we look into it? The people who complain about misinformation and disinformation all the time, why does half the country believe something that didn't happen?
Well, half the country believes a lot of dumb stuff, including a lot of dumb stuff that comes from Republicans, but nobody's trying to put anybody in prison over it. Listen, we live in a.
They tried to put Donald Trump in jail, Van.
Hold on a second. They tried to put Donald Trump in jail over stuff that he actually he got indicted for, but the country went ahead and reelected him anyway. Look, my point is this. It is in fact the case. People believe a lot of wacky stuff and nutty stuff in my party and in your party. That is very different from the Department of Justice saying they're going to put somebody in prison over it. That's a different world. We've not been in a world before. Listen, you served in the White House. I served in the White House. The idea you're going to somehow now go to jail because people misinterpreted what you did in there, I think this is very, very scary stuff, man.
Scott?
Look, I mean, we're obviously going to see this differently, and you and I have agreed about many things regarding the last few years. But on this, my view is that it has become obvious that what happened as Donald Trump was coming in and Barack Obama was going out bears some amount of investigation. And again, if you're right, all these people, they should have nothing to worry about. But there's a lot of people out there that have looked at this and decided that, intelligence was changed and ignored, and there were career people in the intelligence services saying we can't use the Steele dossier and so on and so forth. So at some point, people are just asking, how do you get accountability? Why does half the country believe Russia stole an election? Where is the accountability for that? Did people abuse their positions? Did they perjure themselves? Did they willfully mislead the American people? How do you get accountability for it? That's the question here.
Scott, can I ask you, though, is this, in your eyes, this would be the final judgment on that? It wasn't the Durham report. It wasn't the Senate Intelligence Committee run by Marco Rubio report. It wasn't the House and Senate efforts in the last 6-7 years to look into this. This is the final one. After this, you'll believe whatever it is?
Well, I mean, I would think so. I mean, typically an investigation like this from the justice system would be the end of the line. I mean, you'll find out whether anybody did commit criminal acts or not. And again, I don't know whether they did or they didn't. And so if Van is right and everything was above board and this was all just mundane policy differences, then I don't know why anybody would be worried about having their actions scrutinized. It seems to me that a hit dog hollers. And right now, the hit dogs are hollering. And I'm just telling you, enough has come forward for Republicans to believe that this bears a little bit more investigation.
Look, we just see it differently. And listen, a grand jury that's not a little rock. That is somebody dropping a refrigerator on you if it comes through. And then you can spend 2 or 3 years.
I know. Donald Trump knows.
Well, and you can spend 2 or 3 years just proving that you're innocent, and you spend a whole bunch of money. And why are we doing this? It's damn near, I don't know how many hundreds of years later. I mean, the last like 6 months it felt like 700 years. So I don't understand. Tulsi Gabbard has not put forward any allegation that is criminal, and here we are. And by the way, this is all a part of a whole series of things that Donald Trump has done, even this past couple of weeks, that just seems like he is just going to abuse every little bit of power that he has to go after people he doesn't like. He's snatching stuff out of the Smithsonian. He's doing all kind of stuff, none of which is making America any better, none of which is making anybody's grocery bills go down. A lot of this stuff just seems like he's just petty white or petty wop or whatever. You're just the most petty president we've ever had. Can we just get on with getting the price of groceries down with what it's supposed to be running on?
All I'm going to say, beyond my appreciation for both of you, and I think you know that quite well, Jennings, you are lucky we didn't get into the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because I was going to welcome you into my Thunderdome, my friend, and it was not going to be pretty.
Fine.
So mark that down. We're going to get there eventually.
Why are the job numbers wrong every month? Why are the job numbers wrong?
No. You don't get to do it at the end when I don't have any more time. You don't get to do that. You don't get to.
You started.
That was my fault. Okay, I will take.
If you were that wrong, you'd be out of a job too. But you're usually right, so it's okay.
Look at that. Van Jones, Scott Jennings, I appreciate you both very much as always. Thanks, guys.